the operations of deploying officers around the city. So I'm going to pass that over to the police chief to answer how he's going to deploy his people.
Yeah, I did have a 30-second warning, but I want to make sure Newton gets its fair share on a per capita basis, crime and land mass basis.
Thanks. I made some notes, or jotted some notes as you were walking through that question, and if I could, I'd try to address them sequentially. First of all, with respect to your question about a community safety survey, I can tell you that I'm in discussions with Dr. Erwin Cohen on the final touches of doing the survey, so that will be coming out forthwith. So with that. And then with respect to the response times for priority 1 and priority 2 calls, as you referenced, those times change based on the time of the day, the structure we have. We've moved to a model that's more keeping with call volume. We changed our schedule, our start times for our police officers recently. So I'm not able to speak about what happened in 2008, but I can tell you in 2009 that we continue to find efficiencies. And in particular, I think I would be remiss if I didn't echo Mayor Watts' comments, and I mean no disrespect when I say this, that you know, if I look down the table, she wouldn't ask Chief Garris, or she wouldn't ask Chief Garris how many fire trucks he would have, or he wouldn't ask Jean how many lots he was planning for a subdivision, or she wouldn't ask Lori how many exercise classes she was going to run in her program. She certainly doesn't dictate to me about how many resources she should have in each district. That model is deployed based on our call volume, the number of police officers we have, and our ability to try to provide a safe service to the entire city.
And thank you for your answer. Next question, please. For people with...
Hi. Oh, I'm Liz Walker. I just wanted to bring forward a question regarding Translink, because we did have...
Liz, can you just raise your voice a little bit, please? Thank you.
You know, I can hear myself perfectly fine.
Well, that may be. Just to
I
it
just
to
wanted
age.
to bring forward some points that community members brought up at the last forum regarding Translink. I think many of us are very tired of the exchange having the notorious reputation that it does. And so I hear that there is commitment by Translink to work with the city. Sort of interested in knowing the time frame, if anything's available, because like I said, we are very tired of it being the way it is. The other point is that some people brought up innovative ideas, like having a security kiosk that was staffed, as you've seen in other areas. So what sort of innovative solutions do you see? Because I'm sure this isn't the only exchange in the world that has problems that you might be able to bring to Newton.
And I will... Barry, do you want to take this question?
Thank you. I'll answer, or just to deal with the first part, which is I can't really give you a deadline. Certainly, as you know, it's all a part and parcel of working with the city. The city has its own rules. Translink has its needs. We want to make this happen, frankly. We recognize that it is an issue. As far as talking about some of the ideas that might be included in enhancing safety and security, which I think was part of your question, because hopefully what we learned here and we adopt elsewhere. I'd actually rather refer to, I guess Jeff would be the right person to address that question rather than he, because he's the hands-on person who is dealing directly with this issue. And then Neil DeBoer, who is the Transit Police Chief of Police, would also have a couple of comments for you. So maybe I could do that.
If we're going to do that, if we're going to take two more, okay, as brief as you can be, but as specific as you can be.
Sure, yeah. So I'll let the Chief speak to the security measures we've implemented recently. Just one thing to note is that we did make a small investment in the exchange, about $1 million in improvements that first of all allowed us to start the new 96B line service, which started last fall. At the same time we were doing that, we took the opportunity to improve the landscaping and the lighting at that exchange. So some of the improvements that we could do at the existing facility we put in place, and then I'll let the Chief speak to some of the security efforts that have been implemented.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. question. From the last session that we were at January the 6th, there were two issues that came forward for the transit police. The first one was around safety and security of the Newton Loop and what we could potentially do with that safety and security. The second one was on the movement of the loop. So the movement of the loop has sort of been discussed already, and I'm not the right person to be able to give you the best details on that. But with regards to safety and security, there are a number of different initiatives that we've brought to the loop over the course of the last 6 weeks, I guess, since January 1st. The first one that I'd like to speak about is the ability that we now have. We're treating it in more of a community police model. We've taken the ideas of partnership, working closely with RCMP and with Sergeant Searle, partnerships, problem solving, and ownership. And what I mean by ownership is ensuring that we have the same officers work in the same areas so that they get to know the community a little bit better, they get to know the ideas around this particular loop and who the usual characters are. That way we can deal with it a little bit more specifically. That beat we're talking about for us dealing with around ownership goes basically from Scott Road SkyTrain Station, going through Gateway, going through Surrey Central, King George, and then out to the Newton Loop. And that's the beat of ownership we're talking about. So between partnerships, prevention, and problem solving, and then of course ownership, we hope to be able to help in the RCMP reducing crime and disorder and bringing more safety and security to the Newton area.
Thank you. There's another question, I think. Third question?
There's one last question from the Community Association, then we really want to hear from your residents.
I'm Sheena Welke, and before I ask my question, I'm just going to pass the mic over very briefly to Karen Rees-Padu, who is with the Surrey Crime Prevention Society.
Good afternoon, everybody. I have a question for the audience. I encourage you to get involved as a volunteer with our organization because we have over 250 volunteers right now supporting community safety in our city. Many of these individuals are youth attending university and they live here and are committed to ensuring that we enhance community safety on an ongoing basis. So I just want to thank our volunteers and also thank the city and our community partners for working with us and asking us to support and to continue to be part of projects to enhance community safety. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen. Hi. So now, on so you're off your 2 minutes, you know.
She took off my 2 minutes. You owe me lunch. You owe me lunch.
Sheena, your question.
I'm going to be quite brief here. We had hoped to ask some questions from the Ministry of Health and the Fraser Health Care Authority, who were invited, but unfortunately our invitation was not acknowledged. So unfortunately for you, Mr. Hunt, since this falls under a provincial mandate, my question here is for you today. Here in Newton, we feel that a significant number of the issues surrounding crime and safety in Newton are related to mental illness and addiction. Over the past decade, we have watched as our mental health system has been dismantled and replaced with ineffective and scant resources, while all around us in our neighborhoods spring up unregulated, unlicensed, uninspected recovery homes for people with addiction. In some cases, these homes are nothing more than glorified boarding house. As well, Newton hosts 2 homeless shelters. We know that poverty, mental illness, and addiction go hand in hand, and often on its heels, crime. Mr. Hunt, over the next 3 months, what are your plans to deal with the issues surrounding addiction recovery and homelessness in Newton? Thank you.
Well, that's an interesting question over the next 3 months. Ours is dealing in policy, but I would let you know that, first of all, concerning the whole issue of recovery houses and those sorts of things, there has been a statement out that the provincial government is doing nothing about it, and that we have in fact dismantled a whole regulatory system that was previously in place. That was under the Community Services Act, which was an act that was focused on seniors housing, the disabled, those sorts of special needs people, whereas the current process is dealing with the recovery houses. There's a set of criteria that they have to meet. As a matter of fact, last week I was talking, or actually earlier this week, I was talking to the Minister of Health concerning that, specifically to Newton and to Surrey, and they are in fact in the process of examining the applications for those that are working with it, Those who have legitimate programs, those doing legitimate work in helping people recover from addictions are being approved, and that is being communicated to the city. Those who are not approved and who are, and I dare suggest that some of them that are being called recovery houses are nothing to do with recovery whatsoever. It's basically a flop house of people living together. That is outside of our jurisdiction. That is not under the provincial Ministry of Health to deal with, and those ones become the houses that the mayor has talked about that are in fact being shut down, and the bylaw enforcement are enforcing the bylaws on that. So we're all working together, and I can assure you that both the Minister of Health as well as the Minister of Justice have been working with the City of Surrey in order to try to address the issues as quickly as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hunt. Questions from the audience, please.
Thank you to my community association. Thank you for your great work, and thank you for the city for sponsoring this meeting as well. My question is actually to the elected officials, and Mayor Watts rightly pointed out that the causes of crime are part of the causes of crime is the increasing is drug addiction and homelessness and poverty. And one of the things before us as residents in Newton, our family income is $10,000 less than the regional average. We have to do things to limit during our politicians' terms in office, the economic inequality in our society has got worse. And I wondered, and that inequality leads to growing rates of crime, to growing rates of mental health problems. Half of our residents live paycheck to paycheck. We've got a dozen check cashing places in Newton. Some other provinces have made those things illegal. There's things that the council and other levels of government can do right now. There's been a proposal for a living wage in front of council for several years now. Other councils have endorsed that. We need all levels of government to endorse that kind of thing. Thank you.
Are you directing that as a statement? Are you directing that as a question to one of the elected officials, Patrick?
Any elected official that lives in Newton, maybe. One of the problems is none of the Surrey councillors live in Newton, but I also would like the mayor to answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And as I said earlier, our family's had a business in Newton for 30-some years. So I absolutely am well aware of the economic challenges that that exist here. What I would say, and more specifically, is to building sectors and jobs and creating jobs for the residents. Now, we have had an extremely robust and strong economic action plan as a city, and we kicked that off when everything went to hell in a handbasket in 2008. And what we did is we moved forward our capital program that we had budgeted. We as a city created 4,800 jobs over a 3-year period of time. We look at different sectors, how we can grow those sectors. Right now we're looking at health technology. We're growing that with Innovation Boulevard. We're looking at the aerospace industry. We have companies in the supply chain that are here in Surrey. As well, we have arts and culture. It's very odd that when budgets are tight, they cut arts and culture, and I would suggest that that's a move in the wrong direction, because actually expanding that really creates a lot of jobs within that sector as well. So we've identified a number of sectors that we want to grow, and we want to make sure that we have the jobs here. That's why we pay a lot of attention to ensuring that the existing businesses have the opportunity to expand, that we support that. We have about 2,100 businesses a year that open up shop here in the city of Surrey. And that's what we want. We want small businesses, the backbone of any community. We want to make sure those, I'm hurrying, I know you're, I know.
2-minute limit.
So, but you know what, I mean, I think this is really relative and it's very, very important because to the point that Patrick made is exactly that, job creation. And we as a city are doing all of those elements. And so, again, there's other measures at the provincial government, other measures at the federal government, but it's really important because everybody here are the residents of the city. So we want to make sure that those jobs are
Thank you, Mayor Watts. Could I remind the audience that if you have, there are people here from provincial and federal governments, but and they may want to respond, but unless somebody directs a question to them, I cannot ask them to respond. No, I think, Patrick, you said to the mayor.
Thank you for your time. This is for the police chief and the man from Translink. I live in Newton. I go to the college right across the street. It's been my experience since the community town hall meeting. I've seen drug dealing continuing in the area right behind my college. Every day I see it going on. I appreciate the police presence, but one day I seen drug dealing going on. I was walking by the police station, tried to tell 2 police officers. They wouldn't walkie-talkie it in. They told me to call the non-emergency number, which I did. There was no answer the first time. The next time it rang 35 times. The lady was really rude. She put me on the defensive. So how can I really become involved in the community? People at my college every day at Newton Exchange were being offered drugs, wanting to be prostitutes. Like, I just don't know what else I can do to try to be involved in the community.
Thank you for your question. It's a good question.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to acknowledge your frustration. If I was in your shoes, I would be equally frustrated. And on behalf of those 2 members that didn't take your request, it's not acceptable. I apologize as the officer in charge because it's not acceptable. One of the things that we've implemented, and we did a soft launch on January 6th, is the online reporting. Our hope is that it will provide another vehicle for citizens of Surrey to report crime, crimes of less significant nature, i.e. thefts, the type of things where somebody may choose to be anonymous. And my hope is that that would be one of the things that might help address your concern. The other thing that I'll tell you is I will again revisit the behavior of the officers that work at Surrey Detachment. The example you provide is not acceptable. It wouldn't be acceptable to me whether I was a policeman or not. So I will.
Thank you for that answer. Appreciate that.
Good afternoon, folks. I believe the biggest problem that we have in Surrey is Dianne Watts and the first team. No, it's nothing to laugh about.
I think this question, this is a particular question.
One second. How much money was spent on the city hall? The hospital waited. The students are sitting in portables in the cold weather. All the money that was spent, there's a lot of issues that are being ignored. We have a population of 500,000. And right now, I think, she's thinking 50 years back. It's how we get a board system. Have representatives in areas that understand their streets and know their areas and know their schools. Where the drugs are being sold, what cars are rolling around up and down our cul-de-sacs. There's people speeding up and down our cul-de-sac. We try stopping these people to slow down. They pull out guns.
So the question I hear you asking is how much did City Hall cost?
No, I'm not saying how much did it cost. I'm saying it could have waited. There's only 8 members. There's Dianne Watts and Surrey Council. It could have waited. City Hall could have waited.
So let me just address that. So the city does not, it's not under our jurisdiction to build schools. So we plan in conjunction with the school district, the provincial government, that's their mandate to construct schools and to provide capital funding. Secondly, the hospital, again, that is the provincial government, and that is under their mandate. When we talked about the choice to move the city hall up there, it was a very strategic piece because what it did do is it spurred on $3 billion worth of investment and all of those jobs and taxes in perpetuity for infrastructure, for policing, for parks and rec, for bylaws, for all of that, services that we all enjoy.
Thank you. Next question, please. We have a question here.
Oh.
I'm relying on the people with the roving rights to find the questions. Well, we'll have time for both, so somebody pick one. Go.
So I was speaking to the program director of Highland House 3 months ago, and during our conversation he explained to me that homeless and poverty have a function and purpose in society. Apparently the organizers of society have designed homelessness and poverty part of the social structure. The reason for this is to put fear into people so that they would go to work and things that they wouldn't normally do, and it keeps the price of labor down. Now, this is what the program director of a homeless shelter told me 3 months ago in a one-to-one conversation. I'm detecting a lot of hypocrisy here. I would like to know who these organizers of society are, and maybe we can invite them down to the next meeting to make them accountable for what they're doing.
The points you make are excellent. Do you want to ask specifically someone about this one? Because clearly it's disturbing, and
it's very disturbing.
So would you like someone to respond?
Someone who's in command of organizing these meetings. Someone who has access to who these organizers of society are.
Well,
who are these people?
We're the organizers of society.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
Well, we can have an ethical debate or a philosophical debate about that. Probably we are the organizers in some way because we all have an individual vote and an individual voice. But I'm not sure that someone could answer the question, who are these people who are referred to by someone at a facility as the organizers of society. But can you turn that a little bit and make it into a question that someone could, because I don't think there's an answer necessarily to the one you've asked, but your point is valid.
Okay, let me put it to Jinny Sims. And the question will be, if poverty and homelessness are being organized in society, what are we doing trying to fight crime? Why are we trying to eliminate the cause that's being created in the first place?
Okay, thank you.
Chasing our tails.
All right,
So
question.
Jinny Sims.
Jenny, 2 minutes? Shortly.
Do I need a mic or does my voice carry?
You're like me, you don't usually, but you have
Okay,
one.
so I will use a mic.
People with bad hearing.
First of all, poverty does not happen by accident. I believe that fundamentally. And I think there are things all levels of government should be doing and could be doing to eliminate poverty. In BC, we have the highest child poverty rate. Senior poverty rate, I looked at the latest numbers that came out of StatsCan. An OECD report I read just a couple of months ago shows that the next wave of a group that's going to be really hit by poverty are our seniors. And all of that is very, very disturbing. And I believe that there are federal decisions that can be made. And I believe there are provincial decisions that need to be made. And I also believe there are municipal decisions that can be made to eliminate poverty. But it's not going to happen by accident. The fact is, in my lifetime, the gap between the rich and the poor has got wider.
Yes.
And I believe that that is deliberative. It's policies that is taking us down that way. Governments can make different choices. I take a look at the latest budget and I will try to be really brief. When I look at the time that we need investments in infrastructure, in public transit and other issues, I don't think BC got its share.
I agree.
When I take a look at the budget and say what was in there for affordable childcare, a major issue in our society, it's not there. Homelessness.
Jinny?
Sorry. Subsidies for homing, co-ops are in danger, and so there's a lot we can be doing, and policymakers have to take that very, very seriously, or we are going down a very dangerous path. Sorry.
I'm going to suggest, I'm coming in. I'm going to suggest that if you, because it's almost like an octopus, it's many-faceted, or many-armed or legged, or whatever the correct phrase is. If you wanted to speak more with Jinny afterwards, I would encourage you to do that. Yes, sir.
Hi, this question, I guess, is towards Mayor Watts and Chief Superintendent. I disagree with the Chief Superintendent says that it's not Mayor Watts' job or responsibility to direct your staff. I believe it is. She's the one to answer to. Is it because it's the RCMP, or is it because
No elected official can direct.
you can direct the deployment on how many officers, or, okay, Mayor Watts, if you can't do that, could you change your priorities and hire more officers instead of racing us to the bottom, less officers per capita than Vancouver? As one person said, can you change your budget? You've got your budget made. It's an election year. Can you change the budget to hire more officers next year? 24 doesn't do anything. How long is it going to take 24 to get 24 officers out of depot? Can we get 24 out of depot tomorrow? No. I'm not against the RCMP, that we're using RCMP. I do not think we should go to a strict municipal force. But if you're hiring 24 officers, that's 3 to 4 years down the road. Yes, the money's in the budget, but why aren't we getting them now when we're already that far behind?
Mike, so your question to the mayor...
My question is, why can't the budget be changed priorities to policing instead of a new city hall or whatever?
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, I understand where he's going with it. So let me address this. Number one, under the Police Act, no elected official can direct the police. It just doesn't. You can't. Secondly, in terms of the model that we use, now the reason that I have said that we have our police officers, we have our community safety officers, we have our auxiliary officers, we have our policing support staff. We have 1,120 people dedicated to policing. Now, what we've done specifically is that police officers used to undertake the function of IT purposes, crime analysis issues, all of those things. We've moved them over to support staff for the police and using direct police officers there. It's a different model, but that is exactly what we've done. So when we look at the budget, we have several tiers of policing. And so when you look at it as a whole, that is the whole complement. And maybe I'll get the officer in charge to speak.
If you're going to do that, can you do that really quickly? Because I know there's people wanting to ask questions, and if we have 2 or 3 people answering, it lets other people not ask. So
Okay, thank you.
Fast.
I think in addition to what Mayor Watts has said, I think I would be remiss if I didn't say that Mayor Watts and I would both like to have more police officers on the road. But we are currently engaged in a process where she has asked me to be accountable in how I deliver that police service. So I'm in the process of going through an analysis of our operations, looking at things like our continuous improvement team, our crime reduction strategies, and our entire operational deployment model. And I have a responsibility to, at the end of the day, put hand over heart and say I am as lean and mean and efficient as I can be. And then I know that Mayor Watts will sit down with me and we will have that discussion. But this is a live issue and an ongoing issue.
Thank you very much. Next question.
My name is Arlene Bowman. I'm Jeanette, and I'm a filmmaker. And I just want to say that I'm supposed to be diverse, but I don't see diversity here. I don't see Indigenous people here, and all people should be involved in the voice here. It says so on the handout about the Region Association meeting. And so And also, I was at the march for the missing women yesterday in Vancouver. And the women who are missing are mostly murdered women. And so I wanted to say that there's an article from the newspaper said on November 21st, 2011, the inquiry is investigating why it took Vancouver police and the RCMP until 2002 to catch serial killer Robert Picton when they were receiving detailed tips as far back as 1998. Well, I feel like as if, why did this happen suddenly, like on January 6th? Yes, I know, I'm sorry for the mother who was murdered and assaulted, and the assailant has never been caught. That's not right. But, but the Indigenous women, it's such this great gap, and to me, it's the values that are taught to the parents who teach it to their kids about racism, sexism, and to not hate each other and based on skin color and all that. That's no, it's just a comment. It's a comment. And I address it to the police.
She's allowed 2 minutes.
It is 2 minutes.
You're allowed.
Okay.
You still got 30 seconds.
There's a lady over here who's been patiently waiting, and she's actually waited probably about 15 minutes, so thank you for your patience.
Thanks. I just want to acknowledge, well, first off, I'm a mother of 5 in this community, so I have children aged 18 down to 9. I have a unique perspective on the fact that I walk 5 to 10 miles within this community every single day. So I see things with my own eyes every single day, and I see the difference at Translink, at the Newton Exchange. I see your security there a lot now, which I appreciate, and I see the changes at the rec center. What I don't see is the changes at our parks, and I have specific areas that I want to know. My question is, what is being done about these specific areas? Because 10 miles is really far. I walk very far every single day, and I see condoms, I see needles, I see people sleeping in the...
Could you actually define, I'm sorry to answer, could you define the areas you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm talking about. Unwin Park is a disgrace, and it's a disgusting.
Right on. It sure is.
I'm tired of watching prostitutes and men have sex in my park where my children play baseball, which I belong to that association as well. I belong to the hockey association, everything. Seriously, I have to walk my 16-year-old son, I have to walk him to that park to protect him from prostitutes and pimps over there.
Unwin?
Unwin Park?
Yeah.
It's a disgrace. I don't know what this is called over here. This beautiful piece of forest land that is over here that I would love to walk my dog into every day, and I can't even step off the sidewalk because of the needles and condoms that are there. This is right beside the senior center. It's filthy, and it's got beautiful river running through it. I'm a photographer. I can't go in there
So
ever.
your question would be, what is being done in these other areas that are further afield than what?
They're not further afield. They're right here.
Because of what? Some of the changes have been very immediate. I mean, I know Unwin quite well.
This has been changed.
Your question then?
What's happened at Unwin Park?
I'm going to ask Lori Cavan if she can answer this question, please.
Maybe I'll answer the question. I think it'll be important to meet up with you, give you my card, and to be able to put on a map. We brought maps to see areas. Clearly, we're trying to improve areas as we go. I think there was a lot of listings of the improvements we've done. There's a lot more to be done, and when we're able to pinpoint the locations that need help or attention, this really helps us, and I'll ensure that that's done.
So can I actually ask that you will meet Vince afterwards and talk with him? That would be great. Thank you so much. Next question.
Hi. First of all, sorry, Mayor Watts, you're quite in the hot seat there. But my question isn't for you. My question actually is for the gentleman over there that answered your question about recovery houses. So you were saying that criteria has to be met. What kind of criteria? And then you said the ones that don't get approved get turned somewhere else. How come you guys can't keep watching those houses anyways? Because obviously they're still going to run them, or they're going to run them elsewhere, and it's obviously the same people, right? So as long, I mean, the houses are going to move, but the same people are going to be running them elsewhere. So why can't they still be watched by you guys?
Sheena, you coming back with that?
Sheena, can somebody give Marvin a mic, please?
We don't watch them, we regulate them, okay? And
That's
so,
incredible.
and so the thing is that if they do not meet the criteria and therefore are not considered to be a recovery house with a proper program, then it goes over to the man at the far end. Jazz Rehal is the one that then is the bylaw enforcement officer, enforces the city's bylaws, and shuts them down. And I forget how many you've done that to, Jazz, but he's got a long list of them that he and his members have been working on here in the city of Surrey. So we regulate something that is legitimate. We say it's legitimate. If it's not legitimate, it's over to him, and he shuts it down.
We've got a gentleman over here who's patient.
And before we move on, can I just say that I'm looking at it from sort of a different perspective, but there are two women whose cards have been up for a really long time. And so can we sort of go to them next? I don't care how, but... Okay, all right.
My name is Surinder Sengha. I'm working with the Indo-Canadian Worker Association. So I have a question for Mayor Dianne Watts and provincial elected official, mainly Marvin Hunt. So last few weeks we are hearing about the community court in Surrey. So from our point of view, the community court in Vancouver is working really well. So when it is coming to Surrey, it can save a lot of police time and jail time, and we will moving on the right direction. So what is the situation?
Thank you very much. You'd like an update on what likely time frame there might be for a community court in Surrey. Thank you.
Yeah, and I gave a bit of an overview just a little bit earlier. There's been an expansion that was announced by Minister Anton of our court services. So Surrey is allocated 5 additional courts. So we have a meeting set up on March the 14th to determine a specialized court and what those elements of the specialized court will be. In Vancouver, they have different issues within the community, and every community is different. So we will, through the steering committee, identify what components that we want within that specialized court system, and then it will go to Treasury. I don't know, Marvin, do you want to add anything to that?
No, you covered it.
No time? No guess? Okay. Yes, next question.
This is directed to Bill. I have a couple of questions, or a couple of questions that I'd like to ask you. First of all, I applaud the fact that you've opened the community centre up till 10 o'clock at night. But however, how are you getting that information out to the community? Because I know, I just spoke to somebody yesterday that is right across from you guys. They didn't even know that you were open till 10 o'clock at night anymore. My other question also is that you have the online reporting. How are you going to get that also out to the community? It's great to know that, but we need to know how do we go about reporting it.
So
and then
first question is how do you get the information out, and your part B to your first question?
And how is he also going to get that community out to the community as well? And I'd also like to know, I've heard rumours that the community policing centre is going to be moved. Is that correct?
Okay, there's 2 questions for you, Superintendent Forty. One, a rumor that the community office will be moved, and secondly, how you can get information out to folks that they know that it's open.
Thanks. Great questions.
Of course, in 2 minutes.
Thank you. With respect to your observation about the lack of information sharing, I hear you loud and clear. I will speak to our people and we will advertise it in a more fulsome way. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. And in point of fact, yes, we are looking at moving our community station to the King George Highway so it's more visible and more accessible to the public. It will also allow our police officers to become to integrate with traffic in a more effective manner.
When you say moving it to King George Highway, are you talking along the front? It's still in the Newton area?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, right at
the question of clarification, Superintendent?
7000 block, King George.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this question over here, this gentleman has one. My moderators on the floor said to go here next.
Right there.
Right here.
Yeah, I have a question with the Mayor Watts and the RCMP. This is a long question already. I've been talking to Mayor Watts. I wrote them a letter in here about my break-in last October 2012, and then I wrote them another letter, but I was not answered by Mayor Watts. And then I wrote them again the third letter, and this is already that Mayor Watts responded. You see, my break-in is the problem, because what happened if the RCMP did their own crime? They break into my house, and then they did not inform me of of the break-in. They did not call me, and then they did not protected my properties in there. And then my house was some of my appliances and my things were stolen by the police. And then I cannot by the police. It was stolen, but I don't know who stole it. And then I wrote a letter to Mayor Watts, and this one that he answered was he said that I have acknowledged your letter, and Mayor Watts this. I have forwarded your message to the officers in charge of the Zurich RCMP. And then detachment requested that they will review my letter and follow up with you directly. I've been waiting for this already for a year.
So your question is, why has nobody responded? From your perspective, nobody has responded to you. Superintendent Forty, would you like to make a suggestion?
And this one also. And then the answer again here with Mayor Watts said that you have to go to Zurich detachment 145 to 57, like that.
Thank you, sir.
No, and then one thing, I went to the detachment already, and then I talked to them, and then the police said that he cannot find my problem in the computer, and he said he cannot do anything. I cannot help you anymore.
Superintendent Forty, I don't need a response, thank you. But he will follow up as soon as this is over. Okay, I would ask you to speak directly to Superintendent Forty before you leave. That would be excellent. I know we're running short. I know we're running short of time. We've got a couple of people who've been incredibly patient, so we've got time for about 3 more questions.
Is there any possibility the city could give us 10 more minutes time? I don't know, is there any city official here who could give us just 10 more minutes possibly?
Well, I think there are some people who have have made commitments based on this time frame. I know that someone has to leave for a funeral. So I don't think we're going to be able.
Yes, start at 10 minutes.
So can I please have the next question? Thank you.
Okay, my question is towards the council and police, and as well members of the provincial and federal government or other elected officials. My name is Nicole. I'm a trans woman. The Canadian legal system systematically discriminates against trans people. We often face improper gendering and slurs from authorities, and, if arrested, often find ourselves placed with the wrong gender, as happened recently in a fairly high-profile case in Ontario. Worse yet, this occurs far more to trans women of color than white trans women like me. Society and the law also still widely view trans identities as a mental illness. The framing of the mentally ill as dangerous and potentially criminal thus increases the risk of discrimination.
I think people may be aware about the case. Can you direct your question, please?
Yeah. Well, I also do not feel comfortable accessing mental health services if those services exist mainly to protect other people from me. This combination of factors makes me feel less safe walking around Newton with the increase in policing. I have not seen or heard in any of the discussions recently any efforts to work with legal advocates such as the BC Civil Liberties Association, Pivot Legal Society, or other advocates such as the Trans Alliance Society. Would it be possible to, has any of this work been done, and if not, is it possible for all levels of government and the RCMP and also transit police to work with these organizations to ensure a fair and equitable
Thank you for
approach
your
to crime
question.
reduction.
You're quite right. These issues have been raised. They've been raised for a long time, and they've been raised recently in the paper with, I think, more high profile than we've seen in some time. Does anybody just want to comment on the working relationship with Pivot and Legal Aid Society?
I can jump in really quickly here. I sit on a committee called the Diversity Committee for the BC Association of Chiefs of Police. And what I'll do upon the conclusion of this event, I'll give you my card, and certainly you can bring your thoughts and what you have prepared forward, and I can bring that forward to the BC Association of Chiefs of Police and also have that discussion on a broader level.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jack, I wonder if we could get some information, perhaps, Mr. LaMontagne or Mr. Lalonde, with regards to the actual planning for what's going to be happening at the town centre. There's a great many hours put in over a number of years by a lot of citizens. Into planning, we still haven't heard a thing about what's going to be happening. We do have two significant natural areas in the town centre. We have our grove, and we are anchored at the south end by that triangle that's south of Newton Senior Centre. And what's going to happen beyond that? We'd certainly like to keep the triangle.
Okay. Thank you. Jean, I don't know how to do this to you, but can you please do a 2-minute answer? And maybe then find a way to facilitate further discussion with the questioner who, as all of us are, very interested in this issue.
As Deb mentioned, we just completed our official community plan review, and it's going to be going at the next council meeting. And we had made a commitment in 2014 to work on 3 town centres as it relates to the transit improvements that we're planning in the future. Those are Guildford, Newton, and Cloverdale. So we'll be doing an update specifically of those town centres in 2014, and we'll be working with the community. So that'll be a good opportunity to work on some of the more detailed issues of the plan.
All right, thank you. There's a question over here. I understand. Okay.
Hello, I'm Sue Hamill. I'm the MLA for Surrey Green Timbers. I'd just like to make some clarifications and then ask a question around recovery houses. So the recovery houses are not regulated in BC. There is a very soft form of certification. In 2002, the regulations were thrown out with the deregulation or removal of red tape from our province. And as a consequence, there is no regulations, which means that regulations mean the law. The recovery homes are overseen by a regulatory legal system. Right now there's a certification process at which very few of the many recovery houses in the province are certified, and the certified program has no teeth. So I would ask the bylaws and the fire chief, what are the plans for ensuring that those houses that often house the mentally ill and those who are addicted, oftentimes needing serious assistance from the community they live in. What is your side of the program here? And I'll be working on the side of the province on behalf of the people in those houses. So thank you.
If you would allow me, Sue, to direct the question just in terms of time, I'm wondering if Jazz could answer that one. Could you take this one, please?
Penny, I think that the fire chief is also a major player in this season.
I realize that. I'm just trying to respond to questions in the audience when we've just run out of time. Jazz?
Currently, we're looking at our bylaws. We're looking at licensing requirements.
Can you hear that?
The mic is not on.
The mic on or off? So we check this? Now?
Give it a ticket.
Hello?
We're currently reviewing our business licensing bylaw to add a licensing requirement, which will link back with provincial requirements to add a bit more regulation to it. And we're starting that process in the next coming months, and we'll bring that to council, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, that was a very quick answer. So then, on the way getting the mic passed back up, if you have 60 seconds
Probably in 30 seconds. I can point out to you where those homes that are problematic. I can tell you that the fire department does inspections to make sure that they're safe. Jazz and I work together hand in hand to make sure that there's some sort of regulatory regime around them, and where they become problematic, they're dealt with. And that's about what I can say.
All right, thank you. Okay, that will probably be the last.
We started 10 minutes late, so I think we
Yes, I know. Sheena still has to wrap up as well, so I'm going to thank you for the time. Yes.
Hi, my question, it's interesting, I just following Sue because it's just all around.
Could you just raise it a bit, your voice a bit? Thank you.
That?
Yeah, great. Thank you. That is.
Oh, like that?
Yeah, thank you.
Is around mental health issues. It seems to me like there's really nothing for people with mental health issues in place, and I'm kind of naive around it that I don't know if it's just mostly provincial or federal or city or whatever what needs to happen, but you know, there's a lot of talk about the addictions and the houses that are getting certified rather than regulated, which is great, but a lot of the ones that other people refer to as end up sort of being flop houses or whatever, there's a lot of mental health issues there, and that just gets mentioned but not dealt with. So I guess my question is, can someone, anybody who might be in the know, speak to that about how can we move forward in helping with the mental health issues that are underlying a lot of the addictions?
Well, is there somebody who wants to take this question? It's really provincial jurisdiction, is mental health. Marvin, would you like to take this question? Well, sorry, you got elected. That's how it goes. There we go.
That's why it's unfortunate that Fraser Health isn't here, and I can't answer why they're not here. I don't know that.
Not either.
And that will be somebody. The question I originally had is what I'm going to do in the next 30 days. One thing I will do in the next 30 days is I'll certainly get after Fraser Health on this and get Fraser Health coming and talking with the Newton Community Association on this issue.
And I would then suggest, thank you, Marvin, that you follow up with the Community Association to see what Marvin has fed back to them. Is that okay? Yeah, because that makes sure it gets back to you, who's the person who asked the questions. We're at 5 after 4. I know we started 10 minutes late, but we also have someone to just wrap this up a bit. So I'm sorry, I know people still have questions. I can't. We have to be out, and there are people here who've made commitments. It's frustrating if you've got a question that hasn't been answered yet. I'll tell you what, if you will write the question on a piece of paper and hand it in, or hand it to, on the back, sorry, yes, of the yellow, that yellow piece of paper. If you write the question on the back, I think the Community Association will make every effort to make sure it gets to the correct person and that you get a response. And if you do not, then call the Community Association and say you haven't had one. Can I do that? Okay.
I have the box.
And you have the box, and you can put it in Deb's box. At this stage, then, I'm really sorry to close it off, but that's what we have to do. And I'm going to ask Sheena Wilkie, long-time Newton advocate and resident, if she will just wrap this up for the Newton Community Association. Thank you.
I'll be brief because I know people need to get on with their day. But I wanted to wrap this up. You know, this is actually a pretty momentous occasion in the fact that we have some pretty important decision makers here in front of us listening to what we have to say. And I think that that's something that you should all applaud yourselves because you helped make this happen. So where do we go from here? As Doug Elford said in his opening statement, we're the change makers. This is in our hands. We're the ones who can make a difference, and we're the ones who can affect change. And we do that by holding the people we elected accountable. They've told us some really cool stuff that they've done and some fabulous stuff that they plan on doing. It's our role now to ensure that we hold their feet to the fire and make sure that these things get done. We invite you to maintain a connection with the Newton Community Association.
Please fill this out. It's only going to work if you guys take part in this. There is much more to our community than a crime reduction strategy. Stay involved, be part of the process that we are undertaking to build a safe, livable, and sustainable community. And the only way we're going to do that is with your continued support. I want to thank Penny Pretty very much for the fabulous job she did at moderating. I want to thank Mayor Watts, Bill 40. I'm not going to go through everybody, but thanks, guys. And I really want to say a couple of special thank yous here. One, I want to thank the Surrey Crime Prevention volunteers who, in that bitterly cold weather we had in the last couple of weeks, were around here. Give them a hand because that's hard work. I really want to thank the city staff, the Parks and Rec people here, fabulous for putting all this together for us and helping us make it happen. And I want to thank the Surrey RCMP, the Transit Police. You came out, you heard what we had to say, and we definitely have seen an improvement in the face of policing in our community, and I think people appreciate it. But I think what you're hearing today is that people want more, that we want this sustained for a long time, and that there has to be more work done in this area. But we thank you very much for what you've done. Thank you. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming. And we all own a piece of what happens, including me. No, we love you. Off their glass case on the way in. Reading glasses, and I have them here. Reading glasses, anybody?